C minus, B plus, A, F0, 6.
What is happening?
Percentage, B
Okay.
plus.
Are you reading off a count?
I'm just giving random grades to teams for their drafts.
Oh, okay.
L.
Broncos.
No, the L stands for love, idiot.
Oh, baby. We here.
Yeah.
You in the right direction. Welcome to another edition of the Grossi Perna Show. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. And this is GP. Yes. Brandon Perna, urinating tree. We're here.
Dude, urinating tree did such a great job at the draft.
That got me. That definitely got me. So I was like, oh, Perna posted something, and I laughed my ass off.
I was like, oh, I put the pressure on myself.
Great to meet you.
You're coming up, and I was like, oh, shit, I got to record this. What do I say? What do I say? I just went blank.
Yeah, it worked out, though. I think your recording of the draft pick went perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just right on the TV. Shout out to the F0 players out there. Underrated classic video game. Tom Grossi returning from Green Bay, Wisconsin, where he announced every single draft pick. It was amazing.
Every single
Tom,
one?
did you get tired after announcing all of the draft picks?
I just did the one, buddy. Just the one. Yeah, no, yeah. It was supposed to be 198, but because Sorrell was there, the guy
was there?
Yep, Pharrell was there.
Happy.
He got drafted in the 4th round, and Goodell got to bring him out. It pushed all the presenters down. So that last day, there was a lot of panic about if Goody trades up, I'm not going to be able to do it, the whole 9 yards. But we got it. Pick 237.
Sweet. Now, who was the guy who stayed there again? What was his name? The 4th round? Huh?
What?
The guy who pushed it back. Who's the guy who stayed there?
Oh, the edge rusher. Yeah, Sorrell, I think is Sorrell. It might be Sorrell. Sorry.
And he wanted to be there just to hear his name called.
He was there for 3 days, dude. Yes, he was in the green. So what happened is because obviously he's in Green Bay and like he's here. Goodell was like, "Oh, I want to announce it," since he's waiting in the back there, which was 1,000,000% the right call. So that was a super awesome moment. He had an awesome post-game or post-draft, I said, press conference, and it was super emotional. So
it was cool.
Yeah, definitely worth getting bounced down a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's cool for him to do and want to be there. This draft was wild. Leading up to this draft, we'd been talking about kind of how boring this draft class was in terms of outside of, Cam Ward, who we knew was going number 1 to the Titans for a while. We thought maybe, a quarterback or two is going to go early, but nobody really emerged as having like a favorite quarterback.
Sure.
Didn't have this 5 or 6 quarterbacks who were going to go in the first round like last year. The usually a sexy draft too. You got a lot of receivers that are going to go in the first round. I feel like outside of QB, that's the next sexiest position because it translates to touchdowns and points.
No one. Which by the way, can we talk about for a hot second? Is Cam Ward going number 1, the least covered number 1 overall? Because literally, as soon as even before he was getting picked, I feel like there was 0 coverage on Cam Ward. There was 0 coverage on the Tennessee Titans and what they did with that first overall pick. And I was like, oh, nope, Travis Hunter, he's going to the Jaguars. And then it was Shedeur Sanders basically the rest of the time with other stories that were peppered in.
I wouldn't say 0. We did a Cam Ward video.
I meant draft coverage for the big media during the draft.
I'm a big media guy, Tom.
Excuse me, traditional media.
I can't come back from that one.
Yeah, that's
No, he is. I think it's a combination of two things. One, it's the Titans picking at one. And they are, no offense, Titans fans.
They don't get a lot of coverage.
They don't get a lot of coverage. They don't get a lot of attention. And your Cam Ward's replacing maybe our favorite quarterback too. I think nobody wants to see Will Levis play less football, Tom. No offense to Will, no offense to Cam Ward. But yeah, and I think he just seemed like the safest pick at that position. Like the clear cut, yeah. He did the most on the field, and he has an incredible story too. And that's like, I feel like in a different draft with a different team selecting him, we'd be talking more about the fact that he was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school because they ran I think it was the wing T offense, some bullshit where he just handed the ball off a lot. Went to a few different colleges, and he thought about entering the draft last year, but was advised not to. And it out in his favor because he went to Miami, put up the numbers, and now he's number 1 overall. And I really hope it works out for him in Tennessee. That's they've been so boring. And if they could have an exciting quarterback there, it would just be nice for Titans fans.
Yeah, I mean, just something to cover. I mean, at this point, because also we've talked about this on the show about which team's national media is going to cover, right? Johnny and I were even talking about it, when we were at the draft of obviously I've been a Packers fan now for 28 years, but thank God, my team gets a great, even if, Jordan Love is his first year as a starting QB, they're still going to get, 3 primetime games, right? Like the Packers are usually always going to get covered. The Cowboys are always going to get covered. The Steelers are always going to get some coverage. Hell, the Broncos, they're going to get a whole bunch of primetime games. But there are going to be teams and markets that are just not covered a ton. And the Titans happen to be one of them. I mean, we were talking about when they got the number 1 overall seed in the AFC a few years ago, right? Yeah. And they weren't the most exciting team at that point. And obviously, the Bengals came in and beat them. But it just seems like it takes a lot. And a franchise quarterback will do that because no one cared about the Patriots, in terms of the amount of coverage that they got, before Brady legit just elevated them. And look at these past few years as they try to find a quarterback. So if Cam Ward is that guy for the Titans, you would assume that a whole bunch of coverage is going to follow.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it works out for him. I think he's good. We don't know who Brian Callahan really is as a head coach yet either. I think it's really hard to evaluate what he's able to do with their offense last year versus what he wants to do, what they're going to do. But yeah, I think it's a good thing for Cam Ward to not have that attention right now too. Just fly under the radar. That's a good spot to be in as a quarterback, as a top drafted quarterback, where your job is to save a franchise and nobody's really talking about it. That's the situation you want to be in. Let everybody talk about Shedeur Sanders going to the Browns in the 5th round. Let everybody talk about that for the next 3 or 4 months until the season starts. Let him talk about it every single week that he doesn't start ahead of Joe Flacco, or if he's 3rd on the depth chart behind Dylan Gabriel, if he can't even beat out Kenny Pickett, let him talk about all of that stuff. And just get to work. And I think Cam Ward he's about that too. There's a bunch of videos with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders in the off season or the pre-draft process. And they have a good relationship. And you can just tell the difference between their personalities in those videos. And I'm not saying that's a knock on Shedeur or anything, but Cam Ward he wants to play football and he wants to be known for playing football. And the Sanders family, they want to be known for more than that. And that's why it became such a lightning rod of a story during the draft.
That's true, Tim. Go and play back at RFK. Go on now. Yeah, the Commanders, they announced that they're going back to D.C., so they're going to play where RFK Stadium is. So they were there in the 60s. So they're actually rocking there. It'll be dope.
They're playing at Robert Kennedy's house?
RFK Stadium. They were there in the 60s. Yeah. Or at his house. I don't know where he lives now.
Get the artificial dyes out of their sodas before the games.
Yep.
I better not see a single artificial dye anywhere in that stadium.
Okay.
There
you go, Baltimore.
Beef tallow.
But I agree with
you.
you.
Get at the concessions at RFK Stadium? Buckets of beef tallow. Tallow. Damn it. I fucked up my own joke.
Hold on, do it again, and I'll pretend you didn't.
Beef tallow.
No, you got to say the whole thing.
What can you get at RFK Stadium? What are in the concessions, Tom?
What?
Nachos? Nope.
No.
Hot dogs?
No.
Nope. Buckets of beef tallow.
That's a great joke, Brandon.
Thank you. God, I really nailed that one, huh, guys? Beef towels. Get your beef towels here.
Beef towel. Yeah. I want to talk about so many things. Yeah. So this prank phone call to Shedeur Sanders. So this happened.
So funny. It was so funny.
On night 2, this was the thing. So they were live streaming it, right? What wound up happening is he got a phone call and he pretended to be Mickey Loomis, the GM for the New Orleans Saints, and basically said, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. So you got a prank phone call. And apparently Tyler Warren got a prank phone call as well. But this goes a little bit deeper because it was announced yesterday that the son of Falcons, Jeff Ulbrich, he was the one that did it, and he filmed himself doing it. And so the Falcons are not going. Apparently, they got Jeff Ulbrich's son got it off of an iPad and got Shedeur Sanders' number.
Yeah,
and then made the prank phone call on Friday. And listen, the amount of coverage that Shedeur Sanders was getting every second of that draft was insane, right? The
prank
prank
phone
phone call,
more, honestly, but yeah, I hear you.
Like is not necessary. But the fact that it came from a rival organization and then pretended to be the Saints, like the layers upon layers there of you have Jeff Ulbrich's son from the Falcons being like, you know what? Not only am I going to do this to Shedeur, but I'm going to blame the Saints as well.
Yeah.
Like there's some levels here of just petty that were going on. And I'm curious if the NFL, you have to imagine the Sanders family is beyond pissed.
I actually don't think I bet they don't really even care that much about that at
now
this
that it's
moment.
over.
I think it's over with. I mean, watching so much of it, I bet I'd be willing to bet Shiloh Sanders thinks it's funny. He's got a pretty good sense of humor. That was my take. And then
my war with ESPN.
What I love about this prank call, my biggest gripe is Jeff Ulbrich's son didn't even put in a good effort to sell that he was Mickey Loomis. Like the fact that they tricked Shedeur Sanders with that prank call and the effort level was so low on selling yourself as it felt like they were surprised he answered and was like, yeah, I'm the GM of the Saints, Mickey Loomis. Not a good impression. No really good acting there. So that was the first problem. The thing that's hilarious to me is your dad is the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. And as a son, you think it's a good idea to video your prank call? To shoot video of it. You have the lack of respect you have for your own father is hilarious.
Could have gotten him fired from the team, right? You don't have a job anymore. You're not in the NFL anymore. Dumb.
Dude, if I did
that is a
dad,
douchey thing to do,
As a 21-year-old, I remember when I don't know, man. It's fucked up. It's not even like the Sanders thing. It's like my dad has one of the most high-profile jobs in the world. I'm going to exploit information I shouldn't have had for a fucking viral video moment, possibly. Screw you, Dad.
Okay, so if you're Jeff Ulbrich,
disown. I disown. I trade him. I trade him. Oh, who's the worst defensive coordinator in the league? I trade him to him. That's my new.
Trade your own son.
Your new father. Man, I was gonna say, so who was the Panthers DC last year? It was Evero, damn, but their defense was bad.
Tough.
You're Jiro Evero's son this next year.
That's it. That's how it works. Cal, I saw them come out on stage. I did not see them backstage, and I was very disappointed. I thought, if you announced a pick, you were given a puppy. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it happened to Cooper DeJean last year, and that did get talked about quite a bit. But we forgot. We all forgot by now. Yeah, it's it's a weird move.
Crush it, William. Crush that interview. You got this. Yeah, I feel like I want to get your take on the entire, because you did a video on Sanders, right? And kind of just the fall that was going on. You also have a unique view because you're a Colorado fan.
Yeah.
Right. And like you saw him play and what was your take on like this entire saga that happened this past week? Because obviously he gets mocked in the first round, right? Like this could be a first round guy, could go at 21. There's some folks who are like, oh no, he can go top 10. Like, he could go like super duper early, and he falls to the 5th round. Is it just a combination of the interviews, right? Which are all heavily that they just did not go well, is the story that's there. Is it a matter of the family? Is it a matter of just, hey, the talent that's there? Because I feel like there were so many narratives that took hold this past week to try and explain what was going on. And you're like, is this collusion with like the NFL owners that are trying to send a message and all that? For you, as somebody who watched him, kind of like, what was your take on this entire weekend?
It was weird because he was considered a first round guy. Now, maybe over the last couple weeks, that narrative sort of shifted based on the reporting we were getting and what actual reporters, the feedback they were getting from some of the NFL teams they were talking about. And I'm not even like a big CU fan in terms of like college football. I like the Buffs and I like the Rams. I like both programs. I'm not all in on CU. But when Deion came here, it was a big story. And so I remember watching CU's first game with Deion as the head coach, with Shedeur, and I'm pretty sure I was exercising. I wasn't making like a point to sit down and watch. I was like, let me put this on and see what it's about.
Yeah.
And I got drawn in. I got sucked in, and I did a live stream right after that game because it was so fun. And you're like, oh shit, like there is something to Shedeur Sanders.
Sure.
Like I went on not to talk about Deion, but like, oh shit, his kid can throw the football. Like I was impressed with him. And through the course of his first season at CU, he became a quarterback that everybody was like, he could be making a case to be a first round draft pick. And then he followed it up with, a second season where he put up better stats, better numbers. CU won more games. So the weird thing to me was, as he started to fall, people started to justify that he was never a first round talent.
Sure.
And that was kind of BS. The other weird thing was like, okay, so Mel Kiper got a ton of attention for like just talking about it ad nauseum, right?
Man, that's a whole different thing. Yeah.
The fact that Mel was surprised by it is also weird because if you listen to some of Mel Kiper's pre-draft talk, one of the things he said is the guy I can't get a read on is Shedeur Sanders. I'm getting mixed signals from NFL teams. So if anybody should have known, it's Mel. So I think what really happened is there's two things. One, the two teams that could have taken him, the Giants and the Saints, those were two interviews that just didn't go well.
Yeah.
And McShay alluded to it, and he said it wasn't like nefarious. It wasn't like he was terrible. They just didn't go well. So those were the two teams that were probably considering taking him in the first round. Second part of it, I think I put on his dad in that they approached this as teams should be coveting him. And that's how Deion approached his draft. And really, where they missed the mark is like Shedeur needed to sell himself to some of these teams. He needed to answer some questions about his game and about everything that comes along with it, and they just did not do a good job at doing that. Whether that message actually gets through to Shedeur and like, all right, now we got to go to work. Now we have to embrace the idea that the NFL didn't see me as the talented quarterback I know I am, and I've got to prove that to him. Like, I don't even know if that message is I don't know if that's going to go through to the Sanders. Because after I made a video and I was trying to be incredibly fair to both sides.
Yeah.
because I think Shedeur took a ton of heat that was unnecessary. I think there was too much attention and too much filleting to that side as well. Like, one of the first things I think Dion, like, they had put out there is like, my son's not going to play second fiddle, basically paraphrasing, to any other quarterback.
And he was explaining the teams that he wasn't going to go to and play for.
Okay. So it is part of Dion. It's part of, I don't think they sold themselves the right way. And there's questions about his game.
Yeah.
But he can play fucking football. That's what I watched.
And that's why the day 3 pick flyer makes all the sense in the world. Like the value that you're getting, even if it doesn't work out, right? Like you have another guy in training camp to compete for, QB1. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
And it's where what happened didn't meet the expectations. And the expectations were round 1 quarterback, and then worst case scenario, round 2 quarterback. And then it got crazier every round he went. So, I mean, and while it was happening, I was talking to Will. I'm like, if he actually goes out of the first round, that very selfishly is going to be the best thing that can happen for the video we're going to make about it. And then it got even crazier. But, you don't see a guy projected as it's not even just like a mock draft thing. It's like everybody's doing these player grades throughout the course of it. It's like he is a top 20, top 30 player in this pick. You don't see those guys fall out of the 3rd and 4th round. It just doesn't happen. That's why it becomes such a big story. But
yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, Ravens get all the picks. No, man. I mean, I think I was explaining this during, I think it was night 2 during the stream. The media also, I mean, even if we just ignore the draft coverage and how much it was focused on Shedeur Sanders, even leading up to it, a ton was on Shedeur Sanders, right? Because it was always going to go to the Steelers, maybe the Saints are going to go get him at 9, maybe the Giants go get him at 3. There's all these stories that are coming out about him. And then you get to this point, and as soon as he starts falling, holy crap, man, literally the entire draft seemed to be dedicated in terms of just traditional media coverage was dedicated to Shedeur Sanders. And the fact that he went in the 5th round, I don't know if I've ever seen that amount of coverage of him falling to a 5th round player, right? Like it was an insane fall, and everybody was clicking on it and everybody was interested in it, and all these narratives are being built up. It was insane to see, because I mean, dude, again, Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick as a quarterback, and he got 0.3 seconds of airtime. And now we're talking about him going to Cleveland, where he's the 4th or 5th quarterback there? Yeah,
right now. Yeah.
It was a wild weekend just to see how the media covered this. For them to then, I'm sorry, and there's going to be plenty to come out on Sunday and Monday and be like, oh my goodness, the coverage on this was crazy, but they also contributed to this. I don't know. It's
but I mean, it's wild. You can blame the media, but it's a crazy thing that happened.
Appreciate you very
much. My favorite thing was, I think at the end of day 2, just watching Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, our most insiders, they're all just kind of confused. Daniel Jeremiah, I think, is, the most sane voice when you're talking about these draft prospects, and they're just I can't explain it. And that's why it becomes fascinating. When none of the experts have a good beat on it and can't tell you an answer, you get hooked and you start watching it because you're just waiting for the mystery to be solved. And it finally got solved day 3. And I think I saw that NFL had their highest day 3 draft viewership ever. And so that's my conspiracy. NFL did this just so they get them day 3 ratings up. Or was that because Tom Grossi was making a pick on day 3? Hard to say, Tom.
Well, no, ESPN didn't cover it.
Let's just give the credit to Tom. I think that's a Tom story, not a Shedeur story.
Or Shedeur. That's it.
But
hey, Stern, not a high pick at least.
I do like that the Browns figured out a way.
Yes, I agree with that.
To get more attention at their quarterback position than even when they signed Watson. They signed Deshaun Watson, an alleged predator. It was a big, massive story. and a 5th round draft pick, I think topped that in terms of coverage and intrigue. Nice job, Cleveland. Nice job. And the Browns' reaction when they drafted him, they're just like,
no one looked happy.
Another funny thing too, and I can't remember if I put this in the video. I think it was Stefanski was on the phone with Shedeur Sanders, and he was like I said, the Lord works in mysterious ways. I was like, motherfucker, you had the draft pick. What do you mean the Lord works in mysterious ways? This was your call. Did you have a dream last night that God told you Shedeur in the 5th? You can't say the Lord works in mysterious ways when it is 100% your decision.
Jeff Ulbricht's son prank called the Browns and said, "This is God. You need to go get Shedeur in the 5th."
Ulbricht did it. Oh my God. I mean,
appreciate you, Jason.
You know, the Sanders were like, "This is the work of the devil." There's a clip of them saying, "It's the devil," and they're joking around. But when I heard that, I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Johnny and I were talking, like, we hope that what this does now, like if you're Shedeur Sanders, like have the biggest chip on your shoulder and like maybe it is humbling a little bit and just go and ball out, right?
Dude, I hope that's the way. I hope that message gets through to Dion.
I did not mind.
But in the first 24 hours afterwards, it doesn't feel like that message got through to him. If I'm being like honest, I don't know if it did.
I haven't seen because whatever, but it's always someone just mentioned that before, like after Shedeur got picked, like the next 5 picks like didn't even get announced on ESPN.
Yeah.
You know,
Why should they?
Yeah. Always interesting. Always interesting.
Well, I got draft grades we can bring up and kind of look through some of these other teams who didn't take Shedeur.
Yeah.
What'd your team do? Draft Shedeur Sanders? No? Fuck off, then. We're not going to talk about you ever. I do have draft grades. I want to talk about it, but before we do, because the other crazy did you watch any of the Belichick interview from CBS?
So I caught like 2.5 minutes of it, and oh boy. Yeah.
Dude, he is on a leash now.
But so what's interesting is when he was asked about the social media stuff, because like there was the pictures, that like went viral of him as a fisherman and his girlfriend as a mermaid and stuff, and like holding her up on his feet like a dad would do for his child, like those kind of things. And he goes, "I'm on them, but I don't look at them." So like, I don't even think he's running his own account. Like, so I imagine this is set up for him, and those pictures are, hey, this is what's going to go out there, which makes this even weirder.
This is bizarre.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
So that part, you're like, wait a second.
Because the
this whole interview's about them.
I feel like was trying to be fair, be like, you got people saying all this stuff, but like, how is it like navigating this? And then we're like, how did you meet? Like the most basic question. Nope.
Don't answer that, Bill.
Okay.
Bill?
Okay.
Where you're a fisherman and she's a mermaid. It's charming. It's a different side of you. What's the reaction been like?
What's it been like?
To have these different sort of photos. There's another one where you're doing, I know you're not into meditation or yoga or Pilates. You're balancing Jordan on your feet, and she's doing kind of the Titanic pose.
So Bill.
And he's just like, I don't look at it. So like, I don't even think he set that up.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't take that. That's not me.
I did not have Bill Belichick's dating life to be a pretty significant story in 2025, but I feel like it fits.
And a lot of people like, because I reposted the clip on Twitter. I was like, should we worry about Bill and his girl? And a lot of people like, who cares? It's nobody's business. It's nobody's business. I'm like, okay, yeah. Bill's personal relationship, nobody's business. But when you go on CBS to do an interview, and the interview is mostly about your relationship, it's fair to talk about it. And when you get classic Belichick answers within that thing, and there's been stories about this leading up to this moment. We're not going to spend too much time on it today, but it's odd because it's Bill Belichick, and it feels like he's being controlled by somebody else. And I don't think we ever would have in a million years said that about Belichick.
He's at what, USC now? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
North Carolina.
So what do we say when she's the offensive coordinator and she's like right there?
When Belichick and North Carolina throw it on the goal line and they lose a game. Ooh.
So, King freaking fracking Andrew. Boop, 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 boop. Appreciate the hell out of you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. And thank you. Yeah, it was weird though. Because that came out yesterday, right? I saw it for a hot second and I was like, this is a very strange thing.
No, it's odd.
Very, very strange. Only when the Packers are in it. It's the Chargers and Lions this year, right? So I usually do at least one preseason game for the Packers. So
the Hall of Fame game?
Yeah. 2 coaches. Mike Sullivan, not a popular name today, I guess.
Whoa, weird.
Weird.
I got Pro Football Focus's draft grades up here.
Do it up.
We can go through some of these, give all of your teams a little love. Arizona Cardinals receiving a ton of praise, not just by Pro Football Focus, A+. Now, draft grades, I think you really have to look at the plus and minus scale because most teams are getting A's or B's, right?
Sure.
And that's because you added young players. In theory, everybody got better. And I think it's fair to be like, oh, yeah, hopefully these guys work out. So I don't think you're going to see like D's and F's and all of that shit. So you really got like an A+ versus an A versus an A- versus a B+, B-, B. That's what you got to look at if you're looking at draft grades, guys. Walter Nolan. They get defensive line help right away.
Yep.
I think a guy a lot of people like. A guy you were probably interested in, right, Tom?
I was looking at for the Packers, and like it's fun because to answer even this question, Saad, I feel like Will Johnson to Arizona, if he can recover, because this is a guy that I also had circled for the Packers, because like he's a very good corner. The problem is that he has injuries, right? And like we don't know about the medicals. But if he's able to come back and like rock out, man, I love what the Cardinals did. I love the Birch pick too. I was looking at him for the Packers, but I was looking at it from the Cardinals' point of view of they needed to make that defense significantly better. And not only did they go in free agency and they go get an edge rusher, but now like to really start building this up. If Will Johnson can play, I like it a lot. And honestly, it's very similar to the Chiefs. Like that Simmons pick at 32. If Simmons is able to recover, like he's the best left tackle in the draft. You know, if they're able to go and get like a franchise left tackle at 32, holy crap, man. Like the value is off the charts. By the way, I also love Milroe to Seattle. Best
value picks probably, honestly, Shedeur Sanders, but it's Jahdae Barron for the Broncos. 6 of 7 players for Arizona, defense. You have to respect that. I saw somebody say Jim Harbaugh passed on Will Johnson. That means his knee is cooked. I think it's a little premature to say that. But the difference between like Arizona and Kansas City in terms of like you're taking an injured player, like Arizona needs help now, though. Kansas City, they have the luxury of letting a guy fully heal. So we'll see how much better this does make their defense. But you got to like that they invested in their weakness. Then you got the Falcons. They're getting an A-. They also, it's edge rush, pass rush. We talked a little bit about it Friday. Beef tallow.
Okay. The Atlanta Falcons, it's kind of like the Texans, right? When they go for Stroud and they bring in Will Anderson, I respect the big swings, right? And to go and get a position, which has been a position of need for ever with the Falcons. I love this, right? James Pierce, great rusher. Walker, people thought that the Panthers were going to take him, or maybe like the Saints were going to go and get him. But I like how they address this because obviously the whole Penix and Kirk Cousins thing from this past season, it wasn't ideal in blowing the lead and they could have won the division. But it seems like they're like, hey, let's build this supporting cast around it. And if Penix is the guy, the Falcons are going to be competitive this year.
Yeah. Also, 4 defensive players drafted, right? Take a tackle. Now, if they if they can trade for Jalen Ramsey at some point, like it's kind of been hinted, Ramsey to the Rams or the Falcons. Don't know if that's still going to happen, but you throw Ramsey in that mix, love it. Love
King
it.
Andrew gave you a $300, Perna.
That's for me, Andrew? You sneaky bastard, Andrew. Rich Eisen may know who Tom is, but I've got it on good authority that some dock workers in LA's international port have heard of that guy you passed in the hall on the way to your dentist that time.
That's what I hear.
Ooh,
Tom's on the
Andrew.
ground.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's
Can we recreate that? Like when I'll come to your house and we'll set you up for an interview. You could be in a
Yes.
very distressed sweatshirt.
Yes.
And I'll be like, Jess could be off to the side and be like, how'd you two meet?
Yes.
We're not talking about this.
100%.
That's all I want in my life. Just to recreate that.
I would love to recreate that with you.
10 out of 10. King Andrew. Legend. No, I like what the Falcons did. They went and tried to get some impact defensive players. And like I said, if Penix is the guy, I feel a lot better about him. You know, we'll see what happens with the Panthers and the Saints. But, you know, the Buccaneers, they obviously won the division last year. Falcons might be competitive. We'll see what happens at QB. We'll see.
Hold on. I got one more for Andrew. I just got to bring it in here.
Thank you.
I almost forgot.
What happened? You uploading?
Yes.
Oh, so we got a new clip coming.
We got a new clip. This is for King Andrew. RFK Stadium existed before the current RFK became a thing.
Yeah, they played what, 61? It was the early 60s, right? That they played over there.
Wait,
So-
RFK's dad was assassinated? When? Does anybody know about this? Did RFK's dad draft Shedeur Sanders?
Green Bay, Wisconsin. How the hell are we doing?
This guy's good people.
Perna raid. Who the fuck is Perna?
Johnny Marks sent me that.
I saw Johnny edit that.
That's perfect for Andrew. Your setup. I wish I had that ready on cue, but there we go. Ravens. Another A.
That's not surprising here, man. I mean, Starks, they already have, they already have an insane safety room. Now it gets even more insane. And so Mike Green, we were talking about this a lot on night 2. Guy who was projected to go in the first round has 2 very serious accusations off the field of
sexual assault. And
Mike Green, the prospect, you're like, oh man, the value is absolutely insane because the guy can play football really well. Off the field, there's a lot of question marks, obviously, but you see like the chat and like the crowd. If you could play football well, and how many times have we seen this? Teams would be like, all right, we're willing to take the heat for it.
Yeah.
So again, as a player, you're like, yeah, Mike Green has a lot of potential.
He's possibly the best edge rusher in this draft. So in terms of where the Ravens got him, just football, fucking amazing pick. But there are 2 alleged accusations of sexual assault, one from high school and then one at college for him. So it's a big part of his story. Whether that's fair or not, I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I just know the surface level details of it. For the Ravens to draft him while also drafting a kicker to replace their current kicker who has sexual misconduct allegations against him right now is a weird look. It's a weird decision, but it comes down to they think the football talent from Mike Green outweighs any controversy that might come along with it right now. But
it's like there's someone in the division that feels the same way about another player.
Yeah, you got to beat the Chiefs. That's how you beat the Chiefs with their own medicine, Tom. That's how you do that. Wester, the receiver out of Colorado. I like this pick for the Ravens. Go back, watch a Shedeur Sanders highlight reel. Yes, you got Travis Hunter in there, But one of the dudes who shows up a lot is Wester. I think that's a nice pick for the Ravens. And yeah, they got they add a lot of dudes, but their first 2 picks probably going to have huge impacts for them on defense.
I would imagine so. And yes, Self-Dog, that is the hope that it will be there. That is the hope.
Bills. Defense with their first 4 picks at a corner, which they desperately needed. And then the next 3 are defensive line or edge, which they also needed. Hopefully, these picks for Buffalo help them beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. That's all this shit's about.
They need to go defense. I like that they addressed edge too. Corner makes all the sense because Harrison's super fast. He's definitely smaller, but he's a bit faster. And no Yankees, just one. It got pushed back just because Goodell came out for the Packers' first 4th round pick.
Yeah. I liked Harrison. I don't know a ton about TJ Sanders. I like the Landon Jackson pick. But yeah, it's
defense. And it makes sense, right? The only other thing you're thinking about is getting another wide receiver, but to go and build up that defense, never going to complain about that.
They need to get to the quarterback without blitzing. That's the way the Bills like to play defense, and hopefully these additions help them do it.
It was awesome, Wesley. Panthers.
A+. They're getting an A+.
So there were some questions and like an O after they go after Teteroa. And it was potential, right? I think he was mocked there a few times. But they go out and get McMillan, who is a very good wide receiver. A lot of folks thought that Walker was going to go there. They were going to go edge. They were going to try to beef up that defense a little bit more. I like the Scorton pick a lot.
I liked how he knocked all the hats off the table after he got picked. He put on his Panther hat, and he went over the table with all the hats, and he hit them off and said, fuck them teams. They didn't pick me. Love it, Scrouton.
Sorry. Everybody knows that the Bears still suck. But yeah, for that, I think going to get Scorton makes me feel a lot better. And you just hope that this is going to allow their offense to also take that next step, right? So they're investing a top 10 pick and going and get a target for Bryce Young. So, and I get it. Like, I can explain it. It just felt like that their team had other needs. But getting Scorton, I think he's a good player. I'm pretty damn happy about that.
Yeah. Also, another receiver I like, Jimmy Horn. He's good. He's a good wide receiver. This is a nice pickup in the 6th round. Bears, B+. Now, they probably added... you could argue they added the 2 best weapons at each of those position groups in this draft. Burden and Colston. Colston, Loveland, or Tyler Warren. They're debatable who's going to be more effective in the NFL. But Caleb Williams has no lack of weapons right now.
No.
And those first 2 picks show exactly, I think, what they want to get better at doing. Shamar Turner, I think, is a solid pick. What running backs did they add? Oh yeah,
for the Bears, like they obviously went very offensive heavy, excuse me. And in the first, like Loveland can block in the run game, and like that's going to help a bit. But there's some people scratching their heads going, first of all, why not, Tyler Warren? But I think ultimately they went and they got a tackle in the with their third pick. And I feel like this is another scenario where we're going to help out our second-year quarterback, because building in the trenches, I'm all about it. And Luther Burden is a very interesting pick for the Bears. If he's able to break out there, let's see what their offense looks like. I mean, again,
he's an explosive player.
The excuses for Caleb Williams are not going to be super high this year. It's going to be like, all right, like we've kind of built this team around you. Go rock out.
You could argue he has the most pressure on him of any quarterback drafted last year.
Yeah.
Right head coach. They improved their offensive line. Got a ton of weapons. Ooh. Bengals got a C. Ooh, that's about as low of a draft grade as you can get, is a C.
And again, draft grades, right? We're not going to know this until like 3 years from now. These guys actually worked out. No. But Shamar Stewart is a guy that Packers fans were very, oh no, because insanely athletic. If Shamar Stewart hits, this is going to be an excellent draft pick for the Bengals, because athletically, he's insane. But the production is not super duper high in terms of getting after the quarterback and what have you. So if it works out, great. I'm more curious of what happens with Hendrickson now, because obviously he did not get moved during the draft. The latest thing that I heard before the draft, they're still working on it. So I would like this even more if Hendrickson is definitely a lock to come back, which I would imagine, considering they would have like draft capital this year if they were going to move him, right?
Yeah. No, this is the only way this works if Hendrickson comes back, in my opinion.
Because at least then he can learn, you know?
Because the question with Stewart is like he can get pressures, but his sack numbers were always very low. And I think I listened to him talk about it. He's like, I just need to finish. I can get there. But like when sack numbers are low year in and year out, you're wondering like, is it going to switch or click once he's in the NFL? I don't know.
Because you're drafting off potential, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they go defense is what they need to do. They got interior offensive line of going in Fairchild. Like, I like what they did, but I think there's a decent amount of risk here, you know, especially with their first pick.
Their defense got to be better. We know that. And the nice thing is their defense doesn't have to be a ton better.
Exactly.
Got to be middle of the road for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Instead of like 25.5 points per game, can they get down to like 21? Like, can they shave off 3 points a game? Because Joe Burrow and that offense, in theory, should feast if they can do that.
I appreciate you, Coffee. Thank you. Thank you.
C+ for the Browns. I think that's kind of low because I think Mason Graham is a great pick after they traded.
Yep.
And they added picks. And with those picks, linebacker, the third linebacker. And basically, I think the take on the linebackers was after Schwessinger, Beef Towel. There's a big drop off in where people had projected grades on linebackers.
They also got an additional first round pick next year. Like, I think that I love their first move. Like, I'm all about that. And I like Mason Graham as a player a ton.
And Judkins, I think, is a really nice pick at running back. It's a guy like if the Broncos drafted Judkins, we would have been very happy with. And even a Harold Fan, another like when we thought the Broncos might be going for tight end, it's like, okay, maybe this is tight end, they can get a little later. Solid pick. Then they went Gabriel, and they got Dylan Sampson, too. So they got Dylan Sampson and Judkins. They need help at running back, obviously. And, of course, Sanders. And that was the last thing they did.
Trying to rebuild that QB room. I mean, they need to, right? I don't think there's anyone that's denying that. Okay. I actually really like what the Cowboys did in this draft.
Hey, look at that.
I got to give them a ton of credit here. I think the Booker pick, it makes a ton of sense, especially they have folks leaving their offensive line. You're never going to complain about that. Ezra Raku, I think he had, 14 sacks last year. Ezra Raku was a guy that I looked into a ton because of the Packers. I love that pick. They need a guy to get after the quarterback. Yeah, let's go there. Revel, another good corner too.
Yeah,
like I think that the Cowboys, if these guys hit, I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
So Dallas. Not all
Isn't this the fastest back, too? Jaden Blue? Was he the fastest?
I think it was, yes. And that's what we were talking about in the mock draft, right?
Jaden Blue, 40 time. 4.38 at the combine. Reportedly ran under 4.3 at his pro day. But we'll see.
What you do when the Browns cut Sanders and the Broncos sign him to start over Bo Nix?
That wouldn't happen.
There is a point.
If they didn't hit on Bo Nix, man.
The Broncos, that was like, man, do the Broncos just take him here?
Yeah, it's like, who's like at some point, like a team, they're like, okay, now he's going to go to a good team that doesn't need a quarterback where he can just, learn and develop in a good system. Broncos, they're getting a B. The consensus is the Broncos reached for a bunch of picks, which is funny because their very first pick was like the best value pick in the first round.
I agree.
In terms of talent and where Jahdae Barron was drafted. Everything I've learned about Jahdae Barron in the last 72 hours, greatest fucking corner anybody's ever seen in the entire world, including Matthew McConaughey. Love this pick. A slot machine in the corner. Nobody working our slot anymore. And the Broncos had one of the most heavily targeted slot corners in Jaquan McMillan last year. So Barron going to do some work.
Sure.
I think this all comes down to the second pick for the Broncos. If RJ Harvey is as good as a lot of the draft nerds and other running backs really like RJ Harvey, if he's as good as those guys are saying, then that pick is going to make a huge impact for the Broncos. Everybody's like, oh, they could have drafted him later. I don't really give a fuck about when you take a guy as a football team. What are we basing on these? Like when somebody says a reach, we're basing that off of whose evaluations? A bunch of consensus evaluations across the league, or are they basing that off of what other actual scouts and people are saying? I'm saying we don't really understand what a reach is, and I don't care if it's a reach. If Sean Payton thought this guy's the best running back in this draft for their offense and it's good, then those 2 first picks are all the Broncos really needed to hit on in this draft class. Everything else, gravy.
But it's, again, this is every year. And I don't know how many times I said this during the stream. Mock drafts are fun, right?
Sure.
They are content because there is a divide. There's a gap between sports media and what's actually going out in the scouting departments in all 32 teams, right? You can get reads on it. Beat reporters might have a better pulse on it, right? Because they've been around for a while. You can make your best guesses of like, hey, I'm just using the Packers for an example. Goody, if he's going to draft a corner, these are the kind of corners that he likes to draft. He's going to draft a receiver. These are kind of the receivers he's going to draft, et cetera, right? This is what he's done traditionally. But ultimately, based on the scouting departments, based on how the draft falls, nobody knows. And again, nobody knows until like 3 years after this draft class if they actually hit on it. So it's this combination of, hey, they played pretty well in college. I think that'll translate over, or I don't think it'll translate over. But the amount of subjectiveness that is embedded in here, and there are a lot of things that need to be taken with a grain of salt, because otherwise every first round pick would, hit a home run, right?
Yeah.
But I love the fact that your secondary now has the potential to be so disgustingly good. Like Barron was a guy I was
best secondary in the AFC West without question.
And again, it's not like you need that. So you go get your great secondary. Bo Nix is 100% important. You go and get your running back. You go and get another wide receiver. You're helping out the offense. Yeah, no, I think the Broncos had a damn good draft and potentially like have a superstar of a secondary because it could be that good.
Yeah, we think Jahdae Barron's going to be great. And if RJ Harvey is a very good running back, he doesn't even have to be the best running back.
Yeah.
If he elevates the Broncos run game to say like top 12 in the league in terms of whatever metrics you're looking at, that's a very nice pick. Lions get a B-, huh? Tyleek Williams, Tate Ratledge.
I know a lot of Lions fans in the beginning definitely wanted to go get an edge rusher. They do it in the 6th round. I like that pick. They're building in the trenches. Like, I don't think that you can really complain. But that's how they've been successful, for all these years, is continuing to do that. So Williams immediately is going to help in the run game.
Yeah, these were 2 needs: interior D-line, interior O-line.
Potential, Chris.
If those are solid draft picks, they address 2 of their needs. Lions are better.
I do like their picks though.
B- for the Packers.
Yeah, so Packers had a crazy draft, man. I mean, not only did they pick a wide receiver for the first time in 23 years in the 1st round, which, by the way, that pop from the crowd is 10 out of 10. But they go for the first time since 2020, and then it was since 2011. Their first 3 picks are on offense. Golden, the way that the Packers drafted, going to get Williams and Golden. So they have 2 wide receivers in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs who have injury concerns, right? Their contracts are done after this season. Their rookie deals. Then after that, the following year, Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed, their rookie deals are done. So by the end of the 2027. So this does seem like it's hey, we're going to start mixing it up in the wide receiver room. Obviously, the production from wide receivers last year was very underwhelming, especially after, they were hyped up. And I feel like I don't hate the picks at all. Belton, I like a lot. It was just, damn, okay, what's happening at edge and corner? And the fact that the Packers only went out and got 1 corner, and it was Micah Robinson, the pick I announced in the 7th round. There's hey, maybe Jair Alexander's going to stay. But then there's the story that's coming out that the Packers are still looking to trade Jair Alexander. So I don't know what the hell they're doing there in the secondary. So I want to see how the Alexander situation is going to pan out, because if he stays, I feel a lot better. And when it comes to our edge rushers, like going and get Oliver, Like, I'm about that. Like, I think that could potentially be a really good pick here. Because he came off it was an injury, right? I think in terms of just where the Packers are defensively, they improved in an area with run defense that they had to. Their safety unit got so much better. But good God, did they need to put more pressure on the quarterback? And considering if Jair is leaving, I just thought that would have been a focus in this draft to go and get more edge talent, because that was where it was really lacking last year.
Yeah. I hope Micah Robinson has a great NFL career.
Hall of Fame.
But I also hope your guys' first game against the Chicago Bears, he gives up the game-winning touchdown that cost the Packers the victory.
Why would you do that to me?
Because it'll be your fault. It'll be like, Tom literally drafted this guy. He drafted him. But after that, great career, Micah. But Bears, losing to the Bears, too. I think that's the worst one to lose to for you guys over the Lions or Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Detroit still holds the record. Green Bay, Wisconsin has 107,000 people living in it. There's over 600,000 people in Detroit. I think
people literally had to sleep in tents in Green Bay because the city's not big enough to accommodate all the people that showed up.
Dude, I think Green Bay crushed this draft. Obviously, you can call me a homer or whatever.
Cool.
Like, dude, I think they crushed it. It was so Green Bay, man. Like, it's in
Pittsburgh next year, right?
Yeah, I think they're gonna do. Oh my God, I think in Pittsburgh it's gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah,
but oh hell yeah, Banana, I appreciate you. My friend went back to the Bears after the Browns. There you go. It's going back. That's it. That's tough.
They're giving the Texans a B here.
I love what they did at wide receiver.
I like that they're just like, I think they fucked up. They drafted Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, Jalen Smith, Jalen Reed. I think they confused their Jalens and Jadens.
A lot of Jalens.
I just they're like, we liked this one Jaden or Jalen a lot.
Yep.
And then they couldn't remember which one they liked. So like, fuck it, we'll just take them all. We're just going to take them all.
Higgins is a great receiver. I like that pick a lot because they got some more trade value. They go offensive line. I know that there's some Texans fans that are like, I would like more offensive linemen, please. But got some nice value there. And I like Knoll as well.
Yeah, they need receiver depth because receivers get hurt there every year.
Yes.
So that makes sense.
I would like a little bit more along the offensive line, but
and quarterback Graham Mertz.
Yeah,
never heard of Graham Mertz.
We'll see then. We'll see.
Let's see here. All right, we're gonna stop at the Colts today because there's no way we're gonna go through all of these. We'll pick up on Wednesday, which would be a good day to pick up on more of the draft. Because my bladder's gonna break and I've got a bunch of stuff to do. But we'll stop here with the Colts. This will be the last team, and then we'll pick up on Wednesday and try to be fair and look at every team's draft.
Shout out NFL Network and Rich Eisen. The Rich Eisen thing was amazing.
Yeah, it was very cool. Very cool nod.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you would have been like, oh yeah, Tom, he stole something off my set when I interviewed him.
He didn't notice.
That thief, Tom Grossi. I want my pin back, Tom.
Oh, dude, Lillard last night. Oh man, it's tough. It's tough.
Ooh, yeah, that was brutal injury.
Ugh.
And they just left him out there. He was like sitting on the court. None of it.
They leave the entire arena.
Walked away.
That's it. Colts. It's just amazing because everybody and their mother was like, "Please get Tyler Warren. Are they going to trade up for Tyler Warren?" And then Tyler Warren just falls into their lap.
Yeah, like, sweet.
Gotta be happy about that.
Their defense needs to be better. I like DJ Giddens. That's a nice guy to come in for Jonathan Taylor, another running back we're looking at for the Broncos.
Like I said, when Williams is gone, I have no idea what the 49ers do, man. But we'll talk about them on Wednesday. But yeah, I don't know.
And they took a flyer on Riley Leonard late too. So you've got Dan Jones, Anthony Richardson, Riley Leonard. It's going to depend on Anthony's development this year.
It's true.
But add a couple defensive pieces.
Who What do you think's the
Indeed.
worst team after this draft? Like, who's picking number 1 next year?
Ooh, who's the number one? Which team's picking 1 next year?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good question.
Mm-hmm. I guess so.
I don't know, man.
Could be could be like the Jets.
Could be just based on their QB situation. Steelers based on their situation.
Okay.
Dude, if the Steelers have the first overall pick and the draft is in Pittsburgh.
It's kind of cool. Wow. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they took Will Howard and they got Will Howard at a very
They did.
nice spot.
I agree. Sure, Jeff.
But yeah, they've got to believe Rodgers is coming to them. They got to believe that.
I would assume so. But I don't know. That was an amazing moment. Perna, because you have to go pee. I want you to be able to go do that. What do you got coming out, buddy?
We'll have a draft video, like teams we thought got better. I'm gonna be on the
Saints.
Heed the Call YouTube show later. Heed the Call.
Oh, awesome, man. Hell yeah.
So come check that out. I've got to ask questions about certain teams. I'm trying to get like decent questions because it's about the AFC. So we're gonna be talking about the AFC. Very excited to go on there. A little nervous because I got a ton of respect for them, but come check us out. They get noon Mountain Time.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Crush it. That's a great pick for the Saints. Yeah, the Saints might be the number 1 pick. There's definitely potential there. Every NFL fan's reaction to the draft is going to come out today. We're working on a vlog that'll come out later this week for all the things that we did during draft week. And then tomorrow I'm hoping to get scripted out for the draft. So some big videos coming on out.
Busy.
Oh, appreciate the hell out of you. I'll talk to you soon. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. We'll be back on Wednesday. And as always, go Pack Go.
What?
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for you to just and you have been navigated.
And you've reached your destination.
I was just waiting for you to stop me.
Go
You never did.
Broncos, go.